Hi, this is Dennis Snipe, host of the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show, daring to make a difference in our communities, entitled FocusTalk. And I'm looking for you to be the next featured guest on FocusTalk. If you're an entrepreneur, an author, community-based organization, artist, or if you're simply daring to make a difference in your community, I need to hear from you. Here's what I need you to do. Send an email to dennis@dennissnipe.com with your name, brief description of what you do, contact number, and why you should be a guest on FocusTalk. I look forward to hearing from you soon. In the meantime, please continue to stay focused. You're in tune, Chicago's most popular college music radio station. 89.3 is WKKC. This is Focus Talk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities. We're broadcasting to you live from the campus of Kennedy King College, located in the Inglewood community, right on the corner of 63rd and Halsted. We're talking on a regular basis. Why? Because the answers really matter. What are we talking about? Politics, religion, personal development, history, music, and then from time to time, we are spotlighting positive people who are doing positive things right here in the city of Chicago, as well as across the nation. I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Joining me today in the studio is author Denise Jones and Denise Simpson. How are you, ladies?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
All right.
Wonderful.
Okay, good. Now, Denise, you crafted a book entitled Who Said It Couldn't Be Done?
That is so true.
Okay. Now, give me some information about your book and why you wrote it.
The book is about my life of growing up on Chicago's West Side.
Okay.
And it talks about coming from a dysfunctional family that involved drugs, incest, molestation, lesbianism, and crime.
Okay. All right. Now, give me a little insight about your life and how is it that you took the time and put everything down on paper?
True. Well, one of the things I like to start off with saying, as growing up in a dysfunctional family and being involved in incest and molestation, that it altered my life. And so as a child, I did not know how to articulate the things that were taking place in my household, with my grandfather straddling me across his legs. My uncle got me in the back closet, bumping and grinding up against me. So those kind of things messed my mind up as a child. So as I later moved in with my mom, and which I thought was a great thing, the most beautiful thing that could ever happen to a child. And having everything while we lived in Rockwell Garden, the most beautiful apartment, all the clothes, all the food. I mean, we there was nothing that we wanted at that time. Mm-hmm. Went away and came back from North Dakota, was gone for 2 weeks. When I came back, I'm like, asking my brother, where's my mother? She picked us up at Union Station. I said, where's my mother? And he told me, he said, Denise, just be quiet. You ask too many questions. No, I want to know where's my mother. And he was like, there May is right there. So we always called her by her name because our grandmother raised us. She had this two-tone color natural, and then she had all these strange looking people with her. And I'm like, what is going on? And so moving in with her and began to see the different orgies that was taking place in the house.
And all this took place right in front of you as a child?
It started off, we was being locked in a room. And she would put a bucket in the room and we would have to use the toilet, use the bucket as the toilet. And then finally, because there's so much noise that was happening on the outside, I started saying to myself, I'm going to play like I got to do number 2. So the next time that she had the parties and the orgies, I would bam on the door and say, I have to use it. I got to do number 2. So when she let me out the room, I hid in the closet. And I waited for that moment to come out to see what the noise was about. And this particular day, there were maybe about 10 women in our living room and one man. And my mother would initiate women into her club. And this was done by that person had to have sex with all the peoples in the room. And this man, he was having sex with this lady, and I was standing behind my mother. And the lady was on the floor, and we made eye-to-eye contact. At this time, I was about 11, going on 12. We made eye-to-eye contact. And she had this look in her eyes, like, help me, because he was just dog screwing her. And when he got finished with her, she got up, she was bleeding. I hit my mother. I said, May, what's wrong with her? My mother simply turned to me and said, oh, she just lost her virginity. That scarred my life. That scarred me. And from that point, I began to say I didn't want to have anything to do with men. I hated men. They were nothing but dogs. They was abusers. So I ran from men. Didn't want to have nothing to do. So that was a portion of what turned me into the lesbian lifestyle.
And that particular lifestyle you led for how long?
Over 16 years.
16 years. Wow. Now, Benicia, you and Denise are sisters.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now, what role did you have in the creation of the book Who Said It Could Not Be Done?
Well, the role I played in the book was just being her sister and coming up in the same environment and watching the same thing happen as a child for myself. And also seeing the after facts of her life changing from being a lesbian to her being the lady that she is today.
Okay. And so now this particular lifestyle that you both were involved in, how long was that? The drugs, the alcohol?
Well, it took me, I was involved in that lifestyle for, I would say, probably like 10 years.
Okay.
About 10 years.
What was your turning point? What changed it all for you?
Actually, my turning point began, the thing was with me, I was sick and tired of having to fight at this time my husband over the drugs and getting beat up and going to jail for different domestic violence and things of that nature. But my real turning point was when I seen the change in my mom and my sister Denise.
Okay. What changed it all for you, Denise?
I guess I have to look back at my mother introduced me to shooting heroin at the age of 12. And sticking a needle in my arm led me on a downward spiral. You know, my life just began to just go down. Because after I was introduced to the drug lifestyle, then I had the women that was within the household that were pulling on me, and at that time telling me, you're nothing but a dyke, you know, you're a tomboy, you're gonna be my man. So I was having all types of label. And while doing this and getting high, I ended up dropping out of school between the 4th and the 5th grade. So at the same time, it was so many things that was happening when I was 12 years old. So with my mother introducing me to shooting heroin, then getting turned out into the lesbian lifestyle. Now I'm addicted to drugs, so my mother had me on a hustle. I'm popping trunks, I'm burglarizing apartments, I'm breaking in mailbox, stealing food stamps. So it was like a vicious cycle. And as I think back, doing these things, my mother introduced me, and then I also say my mother introduced my sister Denise, and I introduced her to the drugs, because Denise would wait for me to come home and she would begin to start stealing my drugs. So it was just a family dynamic that was going on, you know, with the drugs, with the hustling and the doing the things. And that lasts for over 16 years. Because now with this habit, now I'm breaking in and out of the houses, I'm sticking up people, I'm cutting off pockets, I'm burglarizing, I'm playing checks. So this thing went on for so long till at one point I was faced with 60 years. for strong arm robbery and home invasion. And I recall sitting at this time in my mother's garage on Carpenter. She had gotten her life together. And I was sitting in her garage. I had a needle in my arm and a pipe in hand. And I was just continuing to try to get high. At that point, suicide was on me. I wanted to kill myself because I felt like I had came to my within. But God wouldn't allow me to die, wouldn't allow me to OD. And I sat there and I pondered. I said, man, I'm so tired of living like this. I can't keep going like this. I'm sticking needles in my breast. I'm sticking needles in my arm. You know, I'm going in and out of this penal institution. I said, I'm just tired of living like this. I'm laying with this woman. I'm laying with that woman. I said, I'm just tired. I said, it has to be some type of hope somewhere. And I thought about this thing. I said, man, May changed her life. Let me go over here and see what can happen for me. And I recall going there on July 6, 1986. And from that day to this day, it's been 31 years, I have not shot drugs. I have not laid with women. I have not stuck up. I have not been incarcerated since 1983.
So needless to say, I'm sure that the road has been long and difficult. What has allowed you to maintain?
You know what? It is such a blessing when I have to talk about this, because I stated that I hated men, never wanted to have anything to do with men. All we could do is hustle together. That was it. But God used the male factor to be the one that introduced me to Christ. And to tell me about how, Denise, you don't have to continue to live like this. You don't have to die in the situation that you're in. All you need to do is simply give God your life. And I recall that day sitting in the seat and I was nudging my mother. Why you coming here and tell these people about my life? This ain't their business. But at the same time, what he was saying was making sense. And when he asked, he said, Denise, come on, don't you want to give your life to God? And I sat there and I said, why not? I done did everything in life that I possibly was big enough to do. And I stepped up and gave God my life. I simply lift my hand, I surrendered, and that was all it took.
Now, from that particular experience, how did the book come into play?
I made that transition to give my life to God, but at the same time, I was still holding on to the game. You know, they say if the drugs don't kill you, the lifestyle will. So I was like, hey, I ain't got to do drugs no more. You know, I ain't got to shoot dope no more. I'm not feeling like, you know, I need to go get a hit, but I had that mentality that I still wanted to hustle. I said, if I could just go out here and hustle and jump sharp, I said, listen, I can have my woman and we could just move on. So in my mind, I was a man. I was not a woman. I lived the full role as a male factor. I wore the suits, I cut the hair, I bought the penis, I dropped the breast, I wrapped it. I had that whole lifestyle. So that part of me, my mind had to be changed. And individuals were around me and they was like, Denise, you can't continue to live like this. You can't continue to do this. And I got tired of hearing everybody tell me, Denise, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I began to wonder what was wrong with me. I said, why I can't let this lifestyle go? What is it that I can't let it go? And I began to cry one day. And I say, Lord, I say, what's wrong with me? Show me what's wrong with me. And I laid on the bed. And as he began to bring things to my mind, he began to show me the things that my grandfather did to me. He showed me the things that my uncle, my cousin did. He showed me the abandonment, how my mother left me and neglected me. So as he began to show me these different things, I began to write. I was writing on pieces of paper and just throwing it in a bag. And one day I was looking, I said, now how am I gonna bring all this together? I found this lady that lived over in the Beverly area. I said, I have a story that I need you to help me put together. And she helped me put this story together. And it came out to like 80 pages. And I was trying to get the story out. I said, I got a story. I think everybody need to hear this story. But God blocked the road. He said, no. He said, you can't tell this story because I haven't finished the process. He said, there's some work that has to be done in your life. So from 1993 all the way to 2010, God was shaving me. He was cutting things off. He said, listen, when you stand up and talk about that I delivered you and you accepted my son in your life as your Lord and Savior, he said, I need them to see my son. I don't need them to see DJ. I don't need people to look up on you and see that you still out here pimping. I don't need people to see that you still burglarizing and cutting off pockets and sticking up. I don't need them to see that you pimping women's on the corner. I need them to see that my son came into your life and changed your life. And from that day to this day is how this book came about. And it didn't come to 2010.
So now, Denise, do you go out and you speak to organizations, to groups about your experience and the book?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What's their response?
Wow. Wow. And what makes it so amazing is because it was not just my life that changed. It was my mother's life that changed. It was my sister's life that changed. It was my life that changed. So to stand in front of an audience and talk about my story, and they ask the question, they says, so Denise, I know you got to hate your mother. I know you hate your mother. Where's your mother at now? What do you think about your mother now? I turned. I said, Mother, can you answer that question? And she stands up from the audience and she answers the question. And the audience is amazed. Then they want to know, well, where's your sister at? I said, you mean the one that was stealing my drugs? The one that I taught how to play checks? That one? Is that the one you talking about? I said, Denise, can you stand and tell them? And she would stand and she would tell her story. And so we talk about how God put a whole family back together. So we followed our mother. We followed her in the drug life and we followed her in her transition. And so today we're taking a message of hope to whomever and wherever and whenever. So we go to the jails, we in the churches, we're on the street, wherever someone is willing to allow us to come in and tell them about this message of hope and how we transition and how we maintain it. That's what we do on a daily basis.
Denise, where's your book available?
It is available on Amazon. Yep, it's available on Amazon. And if you look me up on Facebook, you can see that the book is on Amazon, where you can get it at Books of a Million. It's in over 25,000 stores online.
Okay. All right. So now, is there a part 2 to this story, or are there more books? Period.
Well, I'm working on my second book, so just look for that book to come out. How bad do you want it?
Okay. All right. Benicia, what are you doing now in your life?
Right now, I'm a productive citizen. I've been working for the government for almost 27 years now.
Wow.
I'm married, a mother of 4. And again, like Denise stated, we are out sharing our story and giving hope to those that need it.
Okay. All right. Absolutely incredible story. Now, have you thought about taking your story to the screen?
Yes, I have. And I can't leave out the piece of dropping out of school between the 4th and the 5th grade to go back and get my GED in 1993, and then 2005 go and get my bachelor's degree, and 2009 I have my master's degree. So
that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. All right, and your master's degree is in what?
Non-profit management with concentration in human service administration.
All right. That is absolutely wonderful. Ladies, give me some closing words. Let's start with you, Benicia.
I would just like to say that families can be put back together again. When someone said it can't be done, I would advise you to read the book, which said, who said it can't be done? All things can be done.
Denise?
I know everybody love to say it can. Who said it can't? It is titled, Who Said It Couldn't Be Done? A Diamond from the Rough. And my last words to the community is that hope is still being manifested on a daily basis. All you have to do, look me up on Facebook, author Denise Jones, and I will teach you and show you how to maintain a new lifestyle.
Okay. Ladies, thank you so very much for coming and sharing your absolutely incredible story. I'm looking forward to the next book, and I wish you the best in your endeavors. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station. 89.3 is WKKC. That wasn't bad.
That wasn't bad at all. Except who said it couldn't be
Don't nobody want to say who said it couldn't be done, right? They want to say it
can't.
It's who said it couldn't.
You say that's what they say, right?
Who said it couldn't be done?
This is Focus Talk with Dennis Snipe on 89.3 WKKC.